Mr. President.
Senator from West Virginia.
Mr. President, late last night this body voted on the fourth short-term continuing resolution in fiscal year 2018. And that means we're only into this 3-4 months and already 4 times. I voted for the continuing resolution last night because I refuse to support a government shutdown any way, shape, or form. It doesn't mean that I believe that this should be the way this Congress works. My good friend from Alaska and all of the good people, I consider everyone in this body my friend. And the blame game, I got here in November 2010. The Democrats were the majority at that time. And I wondered why we weren't voting. And I didn't understand the process as I started learning the process. And I kept wondering, why aren't we voting? And then the filibuster and cloture, and we couldn't get things done. So I'm not here to say who's at fault. I know that when you're in a majority, you're in a leadership position and you're supposed to lead. They expect leaderships to lead. Leadership has to make sacrifices sometime to find a pathway forward. Both sides are guilty of not doing that as well as it should be done. We're in a government shutdown that should never happen. 300 million people shouldn't be penalized from the dysfunction of this body. And as Democrats or Republicans, I would hope that we'd be Americans first. I don't think of my Democratic Party before I think of what's good for the country or what's good for the state of West Virginia. I have my democratic principles I believe in. As a West Virginia Democrat's a little bit different than maybe a Washington Democrat. And I have my Republican friends in West Virginia who believe a little differently than the Washington Republicans. But at the end of the day, we always try to do what's right for the state of West Virginia and most importantly, what's right for the country. We're not going to let our troops down. There's no way, shape, or form. You have to be accountable and responsible. And all of the things that we're doing, I can't fathom how we have allowed so much power in 2 people's hands, both leaders of our respective caucuses, to where it seems like that any negotiations is only done amongst 2 people. Only negotiations with the staff of those 2 people. And we're supposed to, as a body, blindly go along. As you know, I don't do that all the time. My votes are pretty independent, and they will be. I always said if I can go home to West Virginia and I can explain what I'm voting for and why I did it, whether they would agree or not, if I can explain it, I can vote for it. If I can't look a West Virginian in the eye and explain my vote, then I made it for my political reasons, for myself or for somebody else, but not for my state. I'm not going to do that. For us to go beyond tomorrow would absolutely be a travesty. If we can't open this government up, back up, and work through our differences, it would be a travesty. If we allow this country to suffer starting Monday morning when everybody should be at work, and everybody should be paid for the work they're doing for our great country and keeping it safe, our military, and everybody down that line, then shame on all of us. I believe that we can. I believe that the majority leader here is going to find a pathway forward, that he'll be able to lead and accept what the minority, the Democrat Party, is saying. We can adjust and make some adjustments here. We need some votes on this. We'd like to be able to proceed further, and we want to make sure that we can come to an agreement that gives us a long-term solution, not every month coming back to it. And that means getting a pathway forward. I truly believe in my heart that can be done, and it will be done. And I have in my state of West Virginia, I have 20+ thousand children on CHIPS program depending on their health care. Depending on their health care. And I know you do too, Mr. President. We all do. We want to take care of that. We have our military. We want our military to be funded properly and be able to defend us, and making sure they have all the necessary equipment and armament and all the technology they're going to need to be safe themselves. We want to make that happen. And for us to divide ourselves up between Democrats and Republicans about who supports the military more or less is wrong. It's the one thing that keeps us in a bipartisan. It's the one cohesive thing we have in this Senate, is our military and our love of our veterans and our military, what they're doing and what they have done for us. I've never found a Democrat or Republican that wouldn't rally behind a veteran or help the military be as safe as they can. So that should be taken off the table. That is not against anybody, or no one's against that purpose for what we're here. Every time we pass another short-term funding bill, we put our national security at risk. We've talked about that. We know it does. We stall critical projects and throw our economy and our citizens. A CR means that you're stagnant. You can't plan. You have no long projections that you can take care of. It basically gets you past one day to the next. If it's 30 days, it gets you 30 days. If it's 3 days, it gets you 3 days. But somebody has to basically move the needle forward to make sure we're able to run in a consistent way. We need a budget. We need a 12-month budget. We need appropriation bills, the 12 appropriation bill the senator from Alaska spoke about. We need those to be taken up. And again, leadership must lead and make that happen. During the shutdown, government agencies and services will close, and the people we were supposed to serve are going to suffer. And that's just wrong. The Department of Defense, we talked about that from both sides of the aisle, will not be able to pay death gratuities to families. Think about that. Will not be able to pay just the death gratuities to the families of service members killed in combat without additional legislation from Congress. Well, if we're dysfunction and we're shut down and we can't operate, that's not going to happen. Everyone wants to use something as a wedge and something they can hold against each other. And then basically what they can do is say, well, I'm for this, but my goodness, I want to take care of the death benefits. That's the least we can do. But so-and-so didn't want to do it. That's not right. I can't fix it that way. It doesn't repair it. Yesterday, as Congress was negotiating and government agencies were preparing for a shutdown, I spoke with my good friend Ken Fisher. I don't know if you know about the Fisher, the Fisher House, if you've heard of them. They're all over the country taking care of our military families. When there's someone's wounded anywhere in the world, or a family needs a place to stay, it's kind of like the Ronald McDonald homes that you see that helps families in need when they want to go visit and they can't afford these types of trips. It takes care of that. Ken Fisher and his family and his foundation have always been there for us. Ken Fisher is making sure there's no funding gap during a time of unfathomable loss. Can you imagine? Here's an individual, private family, private individual, philanthropist, the Fisher House. They're agreeing to offer the families an advance grant until the government can make reimbursements as an appropriate time. They will also cover the flights and hotels and incidentals for the families for this period of time. Here's an individual, an American, willing to say, listen, we're going to put our family money up for supporting our military families who have lost a loved one, defending our country, making sure they're able to travel to be with the body of the deceased, being able to give the comfort, and knowing that we're dysfunctional right now and can't make that happen, to have a private individual step up and do that for us is unbelievable. So you talk about the love and the pride of an American and being an American, putting your country first. Ken Fisher and his family have put their money where their mouth is. They've put their money where they believe what's good about this country, what makes us different than any place in the world. Ken and his family in the Fisher House, they've stepped up to help our soldiers, their families during this time of need, and especially during the senseless shutdown. As I said before, this shutdown shouldn't go any more than tomorrow. Tomorrow this should come to an end. This true, unacceptable silliness that we go through should stop. We have important work to do, including ensuring the military is equipped to protect our country, fighting the opioid epidemic, keeping our promise to our coal miners with our pensions. My goodness, we have our pension plans. They're going to lose by 2022. All of our miners, the average pension a miner gets for all the years he puts in the mine, you would think is what, some exorbitant amount? $586. $586 is the average pension. And all we're asking for, and most of them these are widows collecting these pensions to try to keep their homes opened up and be able to take care of themselves. We need help there. The Children's Health Insurance Program, I've said that before. CHIPS program, 20,000. West Virginians, 9 million Americans. That must be taken care of and done quickly. Funding the government is one of our most basic constitutional obligations, and now because of partisan politics, and everybody in this room is guilty, 100, guilty as charged, not being able to sit down and do your job, not being able to work through your differences, not being able to put your country before yourself and basically the politics of yourself. that might benefit you or the party you think is, that's all you belong and that's all the oath and alliance and allegiance that you owe to. That's not who I am. That's just not who I'm going to be. So I'm going to do everything I can to keep this government open, to get it back open, let's put it that way. And governing this way is dangerous to our national security and embarrassing, truly embarrassing. And I want to apologize to every citizen in West Virginia and every citizen across this great country. We are better than this. And I am ashamed that we haven't been able to show truly the spirit of who we are and who we should be and why you sent us here to do our job. I'm going to continue to fight to make America what it should be and what it is, the promise of the world. It's the hope of the world. It's people all over the world thinking that we can be better than what we are and what we've shown. So let's do our job. Let's do our job. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.